Okay, I think what the character said and what the character does are different from the script and the short story. In the script, the protagonist Joe says quite a lot from his dialogue. I think there's a little rage and anxious inside Joe's heart. For example, I don't need you to believe me. I just need your phone. I will pay for your tear back if you want. He's very eager to find the girl Deborah, but in the short story, the protagonist, the young man, doesn't say too much, and from his dialogue, we can identify that he has been looking for the girl, Miss Eloise Vashner, a long time. He's covered by kind of sadness and despair. The script Joe dies by sort of supernatural, the evil room, and he's trying to leave when it happens, so he's kind of murdered. But in the short story, the young man can't find his girl. Finally, he gives up and he suicides by opening the gas tank, I think. The screenwriter changed elements in my opinion, the genre is thriller or horror kind of. So the screenwriter might want to make the main character very emotional and a little stupid in order to attract audience, because it's for shooting a film, not a literature. So the story implies the darkness and the corruption of society, sadness in people's life in that age. But I think the choice is worked for the screenwriter changing the elements, because in the script, dialogue is an important part of the movie, and the plot in the script can really affect the audience reflection, I think. Yeah.
Okay, for the archetypes and everything, our heroes are Joe and Jessica in the script, and from there our shapeshifter is Nathan. There is no threshold guardian that we could find. The trickster is the tall man and the short man. The shadow is the room, 106. The herald is Deborah. The allies are Tara and I guess a taxi driver, even though he wasn't really much in the scene. And the mentor is Tom. The higher self, there was none, from what we could tell. And then over into the short story, we have the young man as the hero, and the shadow and the shapeshifter happens to be the room that the young man and the woman are in. The allies are basically all of the characters that were mentioned. The Miss Purdy, Mr. Doyle, Miss McCool, Miss Crowley, and Miss Mooney. The herald is the woman Miss Eloise Vashner, and the mentor is the housekeeper. All of the other archetypes we really couldn't figure out through the story what they were. The reason we chose, for instance, the shadow being the room in the script is because of how the room basically consumes the souls and draws more people back to the room. Tom is the mentor because he actually tells the hero, Jessica, what is actually happening in the room and why it's happening. Nathan is a shapeshifter because of the fact he's the only person who knows what's going on in the room besides Tom, and he's actually guiding people to the room for their souls to be taken. It's a certain scene that really describes the major inner conflict of the main character for Joe. Happens to be the scene where he has a vision of what actually happened when Jessica and Deborah see him at the theater and sees him with Tara, not realizing that Tara is just a business associate, and it upsets Deborah and Deborah runs off, which kicks off the story.
So each character aids the main character through the role, as explained earlier. One scene where we experience the most change brought forth by the characters would be where the room is revealed to Jessica. Without the actions of the other characters, Jessica would be unable to accept the fact that she must leave without her friends. These characters are stereotypes, not character types. They're just general characters or victims of the more powerful characters. So, AKA the room, where souls are being eaten. The other characters aren't really able to prevent that in any way. They kind of, like the damsel in distress with Deborah running away, running right into the trap of the devilish room. The overambitious Joe who climbs through the window and is eaten by the devil room. So I believe that they're stereotypes, not character types. And that the last scene with Jessica is the scene where she experiences the most change because she has to leave her friends behind and knows why the room is doing what it's doing, as explained to her by Nathan.
Section I want to compare between the script and the short story is a section that both protagonists died in the room. The reason I chose this section because it actually has a connection. It shows the connection between these two stories. So we think the short story actually is a previous story of the script story. The similarity of this section, both men come this room to find the girl who they likes, and the girl died first, and when the men come here, they also died. The controversy of this section, of these two sections, is the main characters actually have the different emotion. In short story, the young man killed himself because he finds the girl he's looking for have already died, so he feel upset. In the story, Joe is killed by room 106. The room 106 actually presents the young man. He took the Joe's soul because he thinks the lovers should stay together. So he wants Joe to stay with Deborah. I think it's a good idea that a screenwriter change the emotion because that's why these two stories have the connection. Deborah and Joe's death shows the young man's sadness. So I think this two section is really interesting and connect.
All right. One well-written scene that we touched on previously would be between Tom and Jessica when they're speaking, when she's just witnessed her friends dying, and she's talking to him, like asking him what it's all about, and Tom states that my father Nathan opened this business 80 years ago, and then Jessica said Nathan would be over 100 years old. I'm calling the police. And tell them what, the room killed him? They've heard it 100 times. It doesn't matter if you do or not, or she says, I don't believe you. And she says, it doesn't matter if you do or not, your friends are gone and you had best leave it behind. Leave it behind. She was angry, which provoked emotion, as well as the backstory that the business was opened up, and then future things, whether to leave it behind. And then Jess goes on to ask how he was drawn there, and then which brings in Tom. He definitely acts like he's an older person, like he also lived for over 100 years, because he kind of talks in like a slower, more like longer structured sentences where he says, your male friend, probably by the person who died here last. It's a byproduct of the way my father kills people. He eats their souls. And then, which is pretty, it would be more intelligent speaking. And then Jessica's just disgusted, like, you're insane, you're crazy, like, I don't believe you, I'll call the cops. She just kind of her beliefs are just more central with what's going on in the world, not like a younger person, essentially.